From the panorama of a pivotal quarter century, we now direct our focus to the most recent 5-year plan, a plan quite unlike any that has gone before in a variety of ways. In this plan, we urged the Baha'is of the world to draw on all that they had learned in the previous 20 years and put it to full effect. We are delighted that our hopes in this regard were more than met. But while we would naturally expect great things from the followers of the Blessed Beauty, the character of what was achieved through their Herculean efforts was truly breathtaking. It was the capstone to an accomplishment 25 years in the making. The plan was especially memorable for being trisected by 2 sacred bicentenaries, each of which galvanized local communities the world over. The Company of the Faithful demonstrated, on a scale never previously witnessed and with relative ease, a capacity to engage people from all sections of society in honoring the life of a manifestation of God. It was a powerful indicator of something broader, the ability to channel the release of tremendous spiritual energies for the advancement of the cause. So magnificent was the response that in many places the faith was propelled out of obscurity at the national level. In settings where it was unexpected, perhaps unlooked for, marked receptivity to the faith became apparent. Thousands upon thousands upon thousands were transported by their encounter with the devotional spirit that is today characteristic of Baha'i communities everywhere. The vision of what is made possible by observing a Baha'i Holy Day was immeasurably expanded. The achievements of the plan, simply in numerical terms, quickly eclipsed those of all the plans that had preceded it since 1996. At the start of this plan, the capacity existed for conducting just over 100,000 core activities at a given time, a capacity that was the fruit of 20 years of common endeavor. Now, 300,000 core activities are being sustained at once. Participation in those activities has risen above 2 million, which is also close to a 3-fold increase. There are 329 national and regional training institutes in operation, and their capacity is evidenced by the fact that 750,000 people have been enabled to complete at least one book of the sequence. Overall, the number of courses completed by individuals is now also 2 million, a rise of well over a third in 5 years. The increased intensity with which programs of growth around the world are being pursued tells an impressive story of its own. In this 5-year span, we had called for growth to be accelerated in every one of the 5,000 clusters where it had begun. This imperative became the impetus for earnest endeavor throughout the world. As a result, the number of intensive programs of growth more than doubled and now stands at approximately 4,000. Difficulties involved in opening up new villages and neighborhoods to the faith in the midst of a global health crisis, or expanding activities that were at an early stage when the pandemic began, prevented an even higher total from being reached during the plan's final year. However, there is more to tell than this. At the outset of the plan, we had expressed the hope that the number of clusters where the Friends had passed the 3rd milestone along a continuum of growth, as a consequence of learning how to welcome large numbers into the embrace of their activities, would grow by hundreds more. That total then stood at around 200, spread across some 40 countries. 5 years on, This number has risen to an astonishing 1,000 in nearly 100 countries. A quarter of all the intensive programs of growth in the world, and an achievement far surpassing our expectations. And yet, even these figures do not reveal the loftiest heights to which the community has soared. There are over 30 clusters where the number of core activities being sustained exceeds 1,000. In places, the total is several thousand, involving the participation of more than 20,000 people in a single cluster. A growing number of local spiritual assemblies now oversee the unfoldment of educational programs that cater to practically all the children and junior youth in a village. The same reality is beginning to emerge within a few urban neighborhoods. Engagement with the revelation of Baha'u'llah has, in notable instances, transcended individuals, families, and extended kinships. What is being witnessed is the movement of populations towards a common center. At times, age-old hostilities between opposing groups are being left behind, and certain social structures and dynamics are being transformed in the light of the divine teachings. We cannot but be overjoyed at advances so impressive. The society-building power of the faith of Baha'u'llah is being manifested with ever more clarity, and this is a firm foundation upon which the coming 9-year plan will build. Clusters of marked strength, as had been hoped, have proven to be reservoirs of knowledge and resources for their neighbors. And regions where more than one such cluster exists have more easily developed the means to accelerate growth in cluster after cluster. We feel compelled to stress again, however, that progress has been near universal. The difference in progress between one place and another is of degree. The community's collective understanding of the process of entry by troops and its confidence in being able to stimulate this process under any set of circumstances have risen to levels that were unimaginable in decades past. The profound questions that had loomed for so long and which were brought into sharp focus in 1996 have been convincingly answered by the Baha'i world. There is a generation of believers whose entire lives bear the imprint of the community's progress. But the sheer scale of what has occurred in those many clusters where the frontiers of learning are being extended has turned a significant advance in the process of entry by troops into a momentous one of historic proportions.